in this world. Hatred and revenge.
Yeah, whoever said Lana Del Rey cannot sing back in the day should listen to her version of Once Upon a Dream and shut the fuck up. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We're wrapping May up by taking a look at the last two films of May 2014, May 30th to be exact. And the biggest of the two new releases is, of course, Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, the villain from Sleeping Beauty, who's apparently popular enough to overshadow Sleeping Beauty in a movie like this, where she has the title role and she's the main star of it. She's a beautiful, pure-hearted young woman, played by Angelina Jolie, of course. Maleficent has an idyllic life growing up in a peaceful forest kingdom until one day when an invading army threatens the harmony of the land. Maleficent rises to be the land's fiercest protector, but she ultimately suffers a ruthless betrayal, an act that begins to turn her pure heart to stone. Bent on revenge, Maleficent faces a battle with the invading king's successor, Sharlto Copley, from District 9, of course, and as a result, places a curse upon his newborn infant, Aurora. As the child grows, Maleficent realizes that Aurora, played by Elle Fanning, holds the key to peace in the kingdom, and perhaps to Maleficent's true happiness as well. And like I said, they did a great job of marketing this movie, from the first trailers, to them advertising for it, to that great little bit of the trailer you just saw there with the cover of Once Upon a Dream. I mean, like, I don't hate Sleeping Beauty like everybody is like. I don't hate Sleeping Beauty, but I don't like it as much as most people do. I think it's okay. Not one of Disney's better movies, but there's a lot of good things about it overall. Maleficent being definitely one of the stronger elements of it overall. But I thought they did a pretty good job of making this movie kind of work. I mean, they did a good job of mixing both the hero and the villain. While they can usually backfire at times when they try to do that, they do a good job of making this work overall without falling into a bad place that it can get itself out of it. It's mostly because, I mean, Angelina Jolie is just so good in this performance. I mean, she is the thing that really holds the movie together overall as Maleficent. I mean, she makes that character work. She does a great job of capturing those elements that Eleanor Alderley, who does the voice of Maleficent in the original Sleeping Beauty, did. And is also the same voice of the evil stepmother in Cinderella. And I thought Elle Fanning worked very well, too, as Aurora. I mean, I thought she really did. I mean, they don't really give her much to do except to just smile and be amazed at the visual effects that will be added in post later, but I thought she worked okay in here. I thought she actually did a very good job in here. And other than them and Sam Riley's Devil and Sharlto Copley's King Stefan, everybody else feels kind of wasted in this movie. And, yeah, let's talk about some of the flaws of the film, starting with the three fairies. And I mean, good Lord, they were just annoying as hell. And they serve no purpose to the story whatsoever. I mean, I get it. They're supposed to watch Aurora for 16 years. And they show none of that. There's a scene where Aurora, as a little child, falls off the cliff, and Maleficent's moving trees to save her. And the three fairies are doing nothing but fighting with each other. Maleficent does more of the work to protect her than the three fairies are supposed to do. I find that kind of both amusing and also kind of underwhelming. Because, yeah, I mean, the three fairies in the original at least did try to do something. At least they did try to help protect her. But here, I mean, I don't get what the whole reason their purpose is of being in here. Like, next to Maleficent, the three fairies from the original are the more memorable thing about the original Sleeping Beauty. See, so how do you screw that up in this version? And honestly, when you really think about it, the fairies are more of a threat than Maleficent is in this movie. Maleficent at least tries to protect her. Aurora keeps her out of danger, but the fairies could give two shits about it. It's just like, I mean, I'm glad the movie doesn't fall into the Alice in Wonderland trope where they keep they don't add in pointless pop culture references and stupid breakdancing sequences like they did in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie. They keep the story in its overall time period. There's no dated references. And then again, it helps that you have the writer of The Beauty and the Beast, Linda Woolverton, who also coincidentally wrote the script for Alice in Wonderland. This is definitely the same Linda Woolverton who wrote Beauty and the Beast, rather than the one who wrote Alice in Wonderland, which is a mix between other writers as well. So it really wasn't her fault overall. Visuals overall are good, but nothing really jumps out to say it's a great or epic look to it. I mean, I am glad that the movie is okay. I don't like it as much as I did before, but I have come around to it overall. I'm just kind of like, it's good. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing too spectacular. It's more kind of Oz the Great and Powerful than Alice in Wonderland is. It does a good job of keeping the story in the time period. Angelina Jolie and Elle Fanning are good. It runs at a good enough pace overall, keeping its runtime short. But other than that, though, nothing really more about it I could say is amazing about it. But I liked it. I thought it was okay. I definitely think it's a lot better than the sequel overall. And in terms of the live-action Disney remakes, it's kind of in the middle for me. It's not as bad as some of the worst ones like Pinocchio and Beauty and the Beast, but it's nowhere near the best ones like Lilo and Stitch or Cinderella overall, which we'll get to that one next year because that comes out in March of 2015. But yeah, overall, Maleficent, I liked it. I thought it was okay. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Seth MacFarlane's directorial follow-up to Ted, and this is A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Orange is going to die.
Please don't shoot us on sex night.
From director Seth MacFarlane, who brought you Ted,
There are a million ways to die in the West.
comes the smartest,
Mila Kunis, Mila Kunis.
dirtiest,
Okay, I'm gonna close the Bible now.
most original, epic comedy of the summer. Seth MacFarlane, Charlize Theron, and Liam Neeson.
What is this?
Very special cookie.
You gave me the right amount, right? I think I took too much.
A Million Ways to Die in the West, rated R.
What's that?
It's weather expect.
Oh.
And there's reason number one why this movie didn't do as well as they were expecting it to, because you spoiled one of the big surprise jokes in the movie in the trailer. One of the big scenes is where Seth MacFarlane finds this farm, and he hears this farmhouse, and he hears this noise going on, and it's Doc Brown, and it's the DeLorean from Back to the Future Part 3. So this is supposed to take place in the same world as Back to the Future Part 3. And that's supposed to be one of the big laugh-out-loud surprise moments, and you just went ahead and spoiled it in the trailer, which basically tells you that Universal wasn't really convinced that this movie was going to do well, which they ended up being right on, because this one didn't do the business they were hoping for. I wouldn't say it flopped, but compared to what Ted did a couple years before, it was definitely a lesser box office success than the original Ted was, and slightly less than Ted 2 ended up being too, which kind of was around the same area. But yeah, this movie did not get the best overall reviews when it came out. It was actually seen by most people as kind of a mixed bag overall, but I don't know, man. It's a movie where I liked it at first, but time has gone on, I have definitely come to appreciate it more and more, because it's kind of a lost art form for what R-rated comedies used to be nowadays, but now are nowadays. But I'll touch on that in just a second here. But in 1882, Arizona, courageous sheep farmer Albert Stark, played by Seth MacFarlane, loses his beloved girlfriend Louise, played by Amanda Seyfried, as a result of his withdrawal from a duel. He soon meets Anna, played by Charlize Theron, through whom he discovers his confidence and his courage. After falling in love with her, Stark soon realizes that his true potential when Anna's husband, the infamous outlaw Clinch Leatherwood, played by Liam Neeson, arrives in town seeking retribution for Stark's relationship with his wife. And like I said, Ted, I think, is one of the best comedies of this decade overall. That and Neighbors, just two really good comedies overall. And, coming off of Ted and seeing how Seth MacFarlane's entertainment value has come along since Family Guy got started back in 1999, A Million Ways to Die in the West is nowhere near as good as Ted, but at the same time, I do admit that I like it better than I did when I first saw it. I think it is a good movie that shows what it was trying to be. It was trying to be this generation's Blazing Saddles. And I criticized it early on as being one of the film's biggest problems, but because Blazing Saddles obviously was made in a very different time in Hollywood, and that film never would have gotten made nowadays, especially in this day and age. But at the same time, I do give Seth MacFarlane a lot of credit for actually trying to do something inventive and kind of new with it overall, bringing this back to a new generation overall. But I'll touch on that in just a second here. The biggest thing about it is that, Ted's plots and story kept it plain and simple. It's a buddy comedy with a guy and a talking bear, and it gets a little bit more complicated than the story does in this movie. Some of it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Subplots don't really get any real conclusion. They just kind of end. Like the whole thing about Giovanni Ribisi and Sarah Silverman. They kind of set it up as this big thing, and then they really do nothing with it overall with it. And while Ted's jokes could be raunchy, they steer clear of resorting to fart, shit, and piss jokes and cheap laughs. And unfortunately in this, they do a lot of that. Well, sometimes they can do a lot of fun stuff with it. Like, I love the first one where, the first fart joke where the guy farts and then dies crashing into a table. That's good. But then shit like the brief scene where they show him shitting in a hat, which looks more like baked beans, by the way, and those sheep pissing jokes, that's where it gets really lazy. But unlike another movie that focuses a lot of its humor on poop jokes, shit jokes, like The Love Guru, they don't do it throughout the course of the movie, and it's not annoying. And most of it comes in the second half of the movie, and by that point, I'm already getting some good laughs out of it overall, but That being said, when the movie does have clever jokes, they're smart enough to let the jokes do the work and not resort to a gross-out joke. There's a great joke at the carnival with a game that's on the caliber of the type of humor you see in Blazing Saddles that works because of how reminiscent it is to the style of jokes used in Blazing Saddles. I think the best jokes overall come in the first hour, where you could tell they were really going specifically for cleverly written, smartly executed gross-out jokes, and while in that second hour, you start getting those stupid gross-out jokes that serve no purpose but to just be comedy for the 12-year-olds who sneaked into the movie, like they bought a ticket for Maleficent and then sneaked their way into A Million Ways to Die in the West, but I thought the cast overall worked really well. I thought McFarlane was very good with his screen presence, but he's not giving himself a chance to let his abilities really break out. And he's the director of the film. This is his puppy all the way through. But the rest of the cast does work well off each other. There's not a point where you feel like the chemistry really isn't forced or fake. I thought the cameos overall were really solid. I mean, the Christopher Lloyd cameo is really good, but unfortunately, I saw the TV spot for it, so when I saw it for the first time in the theater, I didn't get that great, loud reaction I thought people would be getting for it, but yeah, it was one of the better jokes in the movie, but you got Gilbert Gottfried as Abraham Lincoln, Ewan McGregor, Bill Maher, Patrick Stewart, Ryan Reynolds, and then they just throw in Jamie Foxx as Django from Django Unchained for no reason whatsoever. It's worth it in the credits when it shows up in there. It really is worth it. And honestly, it's much better, I think, than the Django Unchained movie. But that's my personal take on that. But I think what it really comes down to is that A Million Ways to Die in the West is like watching Family Guy. It's like watching an episode of Family Guy where one half of it is very funny, very clever, very smart, like the early seasons of the show. But then the other half has to resort to like stupid jokes and cheap jokes to get a cheap laugh, like the later episodes do. It's funny, but it's not an all-around winner like Ted was. And I'll put it this way. If Ted is the American Dad of movies, which I think American Dad is much better than Family Guy, very funny, completely takes you by surprise, A Million Ways to Die in the West is the Family Guy of movies. Something sometimes funny and smartly written, other times really stupid and unnecessary. And it's kind of a mixed bag overall, but I have grown to appreciate it more over time. And I think it is definitely a good film, not a great one either. It's definitely no Ted, or Ted 2 to be perfectly honest with you, but I don't think it's that bad movie that everyone thought it was when it came out. It was far from that. I mean, I've seen a lot of worse comedies in 2014. I mean, The Nut Job just came out that year. I mean, that's one of the worst comedies ever. I mean, there's much worse comedies than The Million Ways to Die in the West. It just didn't live up fully to the potential I think they were setting it up for it, but I mean, I give Seth MacFarlane a lot of credit for taking the chances he had with it, and for the most part, it worked, but just not enough for me to say it's up there on the caliber of Ted. I think Ted is the far superior film, but as it is, A Million Ways to Die in the West is pretty good overall. I still enjoy it, so that's all I got to say about that one. A Million Ways to Die in the West. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we have yet another double feature for the weekend. As two big blockbusters come out, and one film that should have been a lot more successful, and the other one was one of the big surprise hits of the year. It was definitely Shailene Woodley's much better movie in 2014 than Divergent was. The Fault in Our Stars. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at the movie that got screwed over hard by its marketing. You thought A Million Ways to Die in the West got screwed by its marketing? Wait until you see the trouble that Edge of Tomorrow went through. I mean, one of the best sci-fi movies of recent memory, and it had one of the most, one of the worst marketing campaigns ever, and it was mostly on Warner Brothers' part for doing it that way, but we'll touch on that on the next episode. That'll be tomorrow, of course, but with all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. Now, with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.